The artifact I've chosen to discuss for this next belief statement is called Teaching Advice from Ms. Borson, according to grade 5-6. And my associate teacher, Mrs. Gibson, had the students draw pictures for me and give me little words of wisdom and advice as I continue into my professional career. This book was an amazing gift. It definitely was an emotional thing to receive, but it gave me a chance to critically reflect on my time at St. Ambrose in the grade 5-6 class and reflect and think about the things that I did and how I would change some of these things. Just like Thomas Ryan explained, that it's important to scrutinize what had happened, and it's about a need and a desire to get better. So again, focusing on the present experience, but also looking towards the future and thinking about the things I would change in my practice. And the students actually giving me advice was a super awesome advantage for me, because I had a starting point, and they would say things like give students more free time, but they would also include things like care for your students, be a good listener, teach this lesson this way, or maybe don't teach this lesson, focus on something else. And they really did do some deep dives into the things I was talking about. But again, this book is a way for me to reflect critically and kind of think about how I can grow and how I can learn to be a better teacher, and just as another way to visualize what the students are looking for from a teacher and what they really need. Some of the students, again, talk about an invisible backpack, which is something that my associate teacher discusses a lot throughout her teaching. And the invisible backpack just it's about recognizing that the students come to class every day from a different background, and they bring a lot of baggage, and it's important for us as teachers to recognize this. And when I was reading back on some of their comments, I thought about the Ellen Brantlinger article about who wins and who loses. And I found that a lot of the students in my class really identified with Travis's experience at school. A lot of broken homes, single parent families, lower income at my school, so not a lot of support at home necessarily, because their parents are working and they're trying to make money for them. So school wasn't always the first priority for some of my students. And I think it's just important, again, and as they told me in their advice, to reach out and really care about the students and build relationships with them, but also to model that we need to look at our students' value for more than their class or what the things that they have. It's more about who they are. And my students, with this concept of the invisible backpack, were beginning to become such experts at this, and they really were a community at the school, and they were really good examples of how to like someone for who they are. And I think they were honestly such an inspiration, because they knew that students come to class with other things going on, and it's important for us as teachers to remember that in our teaching, that we need to build these relationships, especially with those students who don't have that opportunity at home or outside of school. For example, lots of the students in my class couldn't afford to play organized sports, so my associate teacher would let me take them out and play soccer with them, or just give them some time to run around and have a team and get some coaching that maybe they couldn't receive outside of the classroom. And that was really meaningful, and actually a lot of the students wrote about that in their advice to me. But it also brings up a point of paying attention to social issues, and it relates back to my teaching philosophy about creating students who are active participants and vehicles for change. And I think it's so important to instill this idea of the invisible backpack in our students. Halfway through my practicum placement, we received 2 transfer students who were refugees, one from Sudan and one from Egypt. And it was just amazing to see how the students in my class really responded to them. And I think it goes back to this idea of multicultural education and what we've been talking about in class. Like that we need to understand that our students come from all walks of life and all different areas. And in order for us to really do our classes justice, is to teach them that there's a way to undo the social constructs, and there's a way to challenge the system such that everyone gets an equal opportunity and everyone has a valuable place in our classrooms and in our communities. And I just remember thinking about Rita Pearson's video, again, that we saw earlier in the year, talking about how every child needs a champion, and we need to really be that light at the end of the tunnel for them, even when they don't seem to think that there is one, and just really create a sense of hopefulness in our students, building relationships, showing them that they can be agents of change. And it's important for us to listen to them and really be reflective of their needs, and show them that fair isn't everyone getting the same thing, but everyone getting exactly what they need. And I think back again about Dickinson and Allison and their writing about what the law expects of teachers, and I just really internalized that we have a duty of care, and that we must be a dutiful parent to those students, because we see them often more than their actual parents do. And it's just so important for us to model how to be critical thinkers about the outside world, and to build meaningful, strong relationships based on who our students are as people, so that they can continue that as they move forward in their learning, but also in their interactions outside of the classroom.